Oh, Brazil is having a big old party down there? Actually, it's a pretty serious situation, all things considered, and thanks to YouTube being the big gay, I don't really know specifically what exactly I can delve into other than just strictly reporting the facts, okay? If you want to extrapolate out my opinions on that, you can kind of guess based on my facial expressions, some of the intonations I make on some of the words that I read, but I know for certain, questioning any of the results of this election that led to these riots and the storming of the Brazilian Senate, well, can't be doing that. Because you can question certain elections, like a 2016 election in the United States. Oh, you can go ahead and do that. You can openly and proudly question that one because that's what all the leftists do. But if you want to talk any shit about 2022, 2020, or even, yes, this Brazilian election, nope. Can't be doing that because those are some of the most secure elections of all time, right? And who won all of those? Oh, Democrats and a socialist. Okay, cool. But what do we got right now? Brazil riot leads to 1,500 arrests, dozens of injuries, 6 in critical condition. Yeah, man, I've seen some videos and they are fucking bug-ass wild. If you want to see an insurrection that's out there, holy, this was an actual fucking storming. Okay, there were no police officers. Kindly moving velvet ropes out of the way, okay? You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody on security footage leading them through the corridors, okay? No, there were thousands of people inside the capital continuing to march down the streets as well. Like Brazil, man, it's going through some stuff, and it has been for quite a long time. In fact, like this stems back months because they had their election not long after the midterms, and it's been consistent rioting over and over and over again. It's been one of those touch and go subjects. It's something that mass media doesn't want to report because fuck, their guy won, so why would you want to talk about any of this stuff? But the long and short of it is, and the fact of the matter is, if you break it down, Bolsonaro, the man who lost the election, he won all of the districts except for one, okay, by pretty decent margins. And then after a little while of counting in one of the slowest reporting areas, Lula da Silva, I think he's probably out now, but he was at least imprisoned at the time, the socialist candidate that was out there. He won one of the heavily populated areas after some time of counting. It didn't take weeks or anything like that, but yep, they slow rolled the results on that one, and guess what? He fairly won that district, and that was just enough to push him across the line. No recount needed or anything like that, of course, but that was kind of the flashpoint for the weeks and weeks of rioting, and it just all kind of culminated with a storming of the Senate that we've had over the past couple of days. National news outlets in Brazil, citing the federal police, reported on Monday that the riot resulting in the near-total destruction of the Congressional and Supreme Federal Tribunal headquarters had led to over 1,500 arrests, dozens of injuries, including journalists. Well, are they really people? Protesters opposing the inauguration of the far-left convicted felon Luiz Inacio Lula da Silva as the country's president on January 1st stormed Brasilia on Sunday, breaching police barricades to break into the Brazilian Congress to destroy its facade, as well as several critical meeting chambers. And I also seen guys sliding down some facing. It's kind of funny. The mob also attacked the STF, the nation's Supreme Court, reportedly leaving its headquarters unusable, and damaging or stealing priceless historical artifacts. Protesters attempted to break into the Planalto Palácio, the president's headquarters, but caused minimal damage there. Yeah, because that one's probably well protected. Lula da Silva became president this month after a bitter presidential race against his predecessor, conservative former president Jair Bolsonaro. Yeah, that guy's funny as hell. And he won by a razor-thin margin. Yep, of course. Totally 100%. He definitely did most secure Brazilian election ever. Lula da Silva should have been disqualified for running for president again as a result of crimes he was convicted for during the past term in office from 2003 to 2011. Why? Whatever do you mean? Lula was sentenced to nearly 25 years in prison for taking bribes while president, but the STF overturned the conviction on jurisdictional grounds in 2021, allowing his name to be on the ballot, and then magically he won the next election he was a part of. Fucking weird how that happens. STF Minister Justice Alexandre de Morales, who also ran the country's top election court during the election, outlawed discussing Lula's conviction or calling him a criminal in media communications, while allowing Lula to spuriously call Bolsonaro a pedophile. Huh, sounds not too dissimilar to what happened in Arizona. Wow, look at that. The lady running the election actually won it. Fucking weird. The SDF's handling of the election has prompted a movement of Bolsonaro supporters, not a small group either, calling for the military to intervene and prevent Lula from taking office. Oh, deja vu. To which the Brazilian armed forces have not responded favorably. Oh, they have, by exercising their force. Oh, if you know anything about Brazil's history, this is just the cycle repeating anew. What's the Brazilian branch of QAnon? I'm just wondering. Oh, don't worry, guys. The military's going to come in and they're just going to flush out all the black hats and replace them with the white hats and blah, blah, blah. The most substantial damage publicly documented in the capital on Sunday occurred at the STF, where Alexandre de Morales' personal effects were the target of particular destruction. I wonder why. One group of protesters tore the doors off, broke the fucking doors off his office, and paraded it outside as a trophy. Oh wow, like a speaker's podium. Brazilian outlet, Jovan Pan, reported on Monday that authorities had documented 40 people hospitalized during the riot. Sheesh. 6 people in grave condition. Oh, like the 6 people who died on January 6th. One of those injured, the news reporter, who cares, was a military police commander. That kind of sucks. While 6 were journalists. And again, don't really care. The newspaper O Globo reported that 12 journalists had either been injured or had their equipment destroyed. Yes, and their glasses fell off. Police had arrested over 300 people at press time for participating in the riot, according to O Globo. Reports indicate that most of these arrests will face charges such as acts of violence against the states and conspiracy. Sounds familiar. Which may result in prison terms up to 12 years. Also, sounds familiar. Conspiracy to commit an insurrection. I wonder if any of those charges will be laid, or whatever the Brazilian equivalent. Bulk of the arrests related to the riot have occurred so far. However, were not of people directly participating in the event, in response to an order from Moraes, I believe. Okay, the police dismantled a massive tent city of Bolsonaro supporters who had organized outside the headquarters of armed forces. I thought socialists loved that shit. Asking the military to overthrow Lula. Police confirmed over 1,500 arrests as they dismantled the camp. Most of those arrested going peacefully. Don't worry, guys. It's all a part of the plan. Just follow the plan. The operation required 40 buses to transfer those detained to prison. Holy, not fucking around at all. There you can see, wow, actually, a lot of the police officers, as opposed to, I guess that's probably some of the disassembled rioters that were down there. Reports indicate that police units throughout the country are enacting operations to dismantle similar pro-Bolsonaro camps nationwide. Yeah, that makes sense. Lula da Silva issued remarks following the riot on Sunday, in which he said, "I'm going to bring everybody together, man. I campaigned as a socialist, but I'm going to be a president for all the Brazilian people." Something like that. On Sunday, in which he personally accused Bolsonaro of instigating the riot. Oh, he took the fire and fury approach, I understand, and issued especially harsh words against Brasilia police. Well, that ought to serve you well. Accusing officers of sympathizing with the rioters and acting in bad faith, like a good socialist. They just try to trim the ranks already. Jokes aside, the Brazilian people are good people who will be forever indebted to you for bringing us the likes of Adriana Lima. What else? I think a couple good rock bands came out of Brazil. Oh, Rock in Rio. Amen. It's a good place. I wish nothing but the best. And given the fact that a socialist is back in charge, man, it's doesn't look good. And given his first couple of statements, definitely not good. There was incompetence, ill will, or bad faith on the part of the people who protect the public security of the federal district, Brasilia, Lula asserted. It's hard to take a motherfucker whose name is Lula seriously, for Christ's sakes. You will see the images of them guiding people to a walkway before the plaza of the three powers. Yeah, continue to shit talk your police and then just figure out what the fuck's going to be up. Lula decreed a federal intervention into Brasilia, like a good communist would, which effectively strips the local government of police power and places it in the hands of a chosen Lula deputy. Sounds like things are going great. So, what about Bolsonaro? Okay, bad news actually. He's in hospital right now in Florida. It's probably good that he left the area, because I don't think it's going to be that long before our dude's out here. Might get strung up if he goes back there. I'm just saying, man. Kind of a dangerous early reign for Lula so far. Jair Bolsonaro, a former Brazilian president nicknamed the Trump of the Tropics. It's one of those nicknames that's actually completely justifiable. Is under observation at a Florida hospital after complaining of abdominal discomfort, his wife announced on January 9th. Dear all, I inform you that my husband, Jair Bolsonaro, is in observation at a hospital due to abdominal discomfort as a consequence of the stab he had in 2018 from a former PSOL, Socialism and Freedom Party member. Yeah. And then they won. Weird how that happens. Michelle Bolsonaro announced in a translated Instagram post. She asked for prayers for both her husband and Brazil. Yeah, there you can see a little bit more of an accurate depiction of the amount of people that were taken to the streets. I've seen multiple videos. That's just not a one-off, okay? That's just not selectively edited images, okay, taken from one direction. Videos of people marching down the streets in those numbers is not uncommon. The amount of people, okay, like you guys know the size of your average Trump rally, okay? There was that one in Pennsylvania just before the 2020 election. There was like 50,000 people turn up. Bolsonaro, right before the election, had a rally on the beach. It was over 100,000 people. It was fucking ridiculous. And he was the guy who lost. Okay. In the 4 years since his original stab wound, Bolsonaro was hospitalized for complications on multiple occasions, according to CNN. Yeah, of course, you know. One propaganda outlet, running cover for another. Oh, yeah, don't worry, this is totally fine. Don't worry about it. Images from Twitter show Jair Bolsonaro was taking pictures with supporters in Orlando, Florida, just a day ago. News of his wound flaring came one day after his supporters stormed the Brazil Congress, Supreme Court, and Presidential Palace. Rioters ripped through the building, smashing windows, furniture, and artwork. They stole the country's original 1988 constitution. This means fuck all anymore. Bolsonaro lost Brazil's 2022 election to socialist Lula da Silva, the Workers' Party candidate. Workers' Party, fucking socialist. Silva won with 50.9% of the vote. Yeah, weird. That's it. Hey man, I got to cross the finish line. I win. Don't double count. Don't run the numbers back. Come on now, just shut up. Bolsonaro said following his apparent loss were the fruit of indignation and a sense of injustice. No, come on now. His supporters took to the streets across Brazil. They blockaded roads in 190 locations. A guy who can elicit that much of a response without actually calling for any of this type of response. He was the guy who lost. Keep that in mind. And caused widespread disruption in fuel distribution, industrial activities, and food logistics. So far, Silva's government has arrested more than, this time we can update it on the fly, 1,500 of Jair Bolsonaro supporters. The president has also blamed his predecessor for the unrest. That, of course, like a good commie would. Peaceful demonstrations in the form of the law are a part of democracy, Bolsonaro said. However, depredations and invasions of public buildings as occurred today, as well as those practiced by the left in 2013 and 17, crossed the line. Oh, come on. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Oh my God, do your fucking job. Oh, don't worry, guys. Biden went down to the border and everything's okay. Fuck off. Any official requests from the Brazilian government related to Bolsonaro haven't received any. Yeah, because he's fine. Democrats, including AOC. Why does that bitch have to do fucking anything? Ilan Omar and Joaquin Castro called for Bolsonaro's extradition. No. Domestic terrorists and fascists cannot be allowed to use Trump's playbook to undermine democracy, said Castro. Fuck off. Bolsonaro must not be given a refuge in Florida, where he's been hiding from accountability for his crimes. He literally incited an insurrection, you guys. I know Joaquin Castro's a man, but You make a statement like that. Bolsonaro did not attend Silva's inauguration. No, but hundreds of thousands of his supporters did. Bolsonaro, a former soldier, served in Brazil's Senate for 27 years, had enough of that commie fucking nonsense, and then became president. God, he was based. I have fear for what's going to happen in Brazil in the short term. But I'll be keeping an eye on this, okay? See what's going to happen down the road for Brazil because, again, and I know memes aside, beautiful women and all that stuff, you know, BBLs, and even though I'm not a fan, but you know what, hey man, they've exported quite a bit. It's a place that's been teeter-tottering on economic survivability, and by bringing in a socialist, oof, you were heading in a good direction. Now you're heading towards a Venezuelan type situation. We don't need a poor South America if we're looking for, you know, close trading partners. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.